have to start the meeting yet.
I'm trying to help Mike get his thing going, so just a moment.
Fine.
I see Greg's name is up there, but he's muted and I don't have a picture yet.
If we can't unmute him, that means he's muted himself.
I'm here. I'm listening. I just didn't want to hear my background noise. But I'm here. You got me, right?
Yep, we hear you, Greg.
Greg, so I'm here. Do your roll call.
So, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, in an effort to minimize the background noise, especially during the presentation, Roxanne taught me something today. If you mute your computer, it'll stay muted. And then when you want to speak, you need to hold down the space bar. That way there's no echoing, background noise, etc. And I think that'll help this meeting move along quickly. But it is 9:03. I know we're still trying to work with Mike on getting some resolution. So I guess we'll give it a couple more minutes and see if we can get him to get him into the meeting with audio.
Chelsea, I'm hitting the wrong mute button. I'm hitting my sound mute. Is there a microphone mute?
If you look in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you have to move your mouse. You'll see that there's a mute and a stop video button. If you hit the mute.
Okay. I'm going to mute and then try my.
Hold your space bar down, Sam.
Oh, hold it down to talk.
He's gonna try his headset, which he did a trial yesterday and it worked, but it's not working now, so I don't know.
My space bar doesn't seem to work, so I'll just unmute it when I want to talk.
Does my space bar work now, Ted?
Yes.
Yes, it's working.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody hear Mike on the computer?
I'm sorry, you can see the little red line and the mute symbol disappear when play.
Hello, this is Bob Beasley. I just got on.
Welcome, Bob. We're going to start in a couple minutes. We're having some technical difficulties with Mike.
Yeah, I was having technical difficulties too, so I just called in.
Okay, I suggested Mike disconnect and come back on again and try that. So I think we'll go ahead and start the meeting, call the meeting to order. I think our first order is to have public comments. Is there any public comment?
So what we're going to do, this is new to everybody, is we've got Jason and Amy in AV operations, and we have a couple people, I think, in our waiting room that they will let one by one in to provide public comment. And it's still the same 3-minute typical public comment that we normally do in a meeting in the chambers. So Jason, if you guys want to take it away.
Are they going to cut them off then?
No, Kathy, we have to keep track of the 3 minutes. Kathy, I think Natalie Richardson is one of the public comment people if you want to try calling on her. Kathy, I think Natalie Richardson is one of the, if you want to try calling on her.
We're here.
Kathy,
Can you hear us?
Natalie Richardson.
Natalie, I think you have YouTube playing in the background. I think you need to pause YouTube while you do your public comment because there's a delay.
Thank you. Is that better?
Yes.
Yep, go ahead.
Natalie.
Actually, my husband Todd.
So we found out yesterday that there was a project, a potential project being planned between Nervous Nelly and Snug Harbor. We are owners of the we're trying to find out exactly what's going on there. After finding out that potentially a 3-story building, then we found out what's going in it, which certainly isn't going to do anything for the area, the people, the property value, the rental quality, or anything else. How do we get information on this project? What's going on? You know, we've spent a great deal of money to get down to your community and retire. And we're now finding out that the beautiful little park area that we've got that nobody ever imagined would be developed is now going to concern property values. Just, is that where we want to be? Do you want to, are families with kids going to want to be there? I don't think they're going to, and we're just trying to get information. What can you provide us?
Kathy, may I speak to him?
Please.
The public comment is not a time when we answer questions for folks, but I can tell you the project has been discussed at numerous meetings over the past 6 months to a year. One of the ways you can find out information is by going online and looking at the agendas and finding which meetings these were presentations were made. In addition, it's been covered in the Sandpaper and the Fort Myers Beach Observer. So if you search their websites, that might be an easier way to find things as well. But just so you know, this has been going on for some time, but we don't provide specific information in answer to public comment at this point in time.
So is there no requirement to notify property owners within the area?
Again, this is not a time that we answer questions. If you have questions, you can call the town after the meeting. This is just a time that we accept public comment.
Okay, and if we were to call, I called the town yesterday, there was nobody that would answer. I sent an email out yesterday and got no answer. So.
Mr. Richardson.
Yeah, this is, you can contact Chelsea, yes? And she can help direct you to where you can get the information. But again, with Roxanne, this is not questions.
Okay, well, I think our president is also one of the association president is also on the call. I'll give him his time.
And just as a housekeeping thing, you know, we did bring the public comment into this meeting. We will push you back out of this meeting to the waiting room, but you can listen to it on YouTube. Once you're in that waiting room, you can't hear it. So please, once you make your public comment, please listen in on YouTube.
Thank you.
Is there another public comment?
Mr. Fraschetti, I believe you are our next public comment.
Mr. Fraschetti, go ahead, please.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Todd pretty much said it all. I have disagreed with the way the city does lots of things down here, but going ahead and putting perhaps an albatross up at the end of the street here where, like Todd said, a lot of us have invested a great deal of money to live here and put up with all of the other issues ongoing down here, including the traffic and the construction and the banging all night long. And, you know, I'm going along with what he said. I don't think it's fair to the people that live here. You know, just like we always get beat on by, you know, trash collections and all the other goings on. Robert has helped me a lot in terms of keeping us appraised and taking care of issues we have here with other properties adjacent to our building. And I don't feel the Harbor House is being treated fairly. The restaurants around here are treated much better than us. And I don't think that that building would be an attribute to not only the Harbor House, but to the other places around here. I don't believe it will, but I could be wrong. But why you blocking people's views doesn't make sense to me. You know, if you spent time and looked at the people that congregate on the little short old bridges over there, you know, you have all the bums already here, sitting here. So I think he's just creating another place for problems, personally.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Is there any other public comment, please?
I don't believe so.
Well, thanks to our two public comments. We'll go ahead with the design presentation.
So before I turn this over to Paul and Matt and Ryan, they are, you know, our design team. I'll let them introduce themselves. I just have a couple items that I want to touch on you know, as we delve into this. This is 30% design. 30% design is very rough, and this is a very, very fast-paced project with the hope in anticipation that we receive 100% design biddable documents by mid to late June. So as you can see, this is a very fast time frame. As you all know, our contract with Matanzas, we have the option of renewing one more time come November. But the all of this really stems from this being a part of a bigger conglomerate. We have three big projects. We have Times Square, we have Bay Oaks, and then this. They all three have to move forward together. This isn't a, you know, we're only going to do Bayside Park. This is a larger grand scheme of things that council has supported clearly by saying move forward with 100% design of this park. So I want you to keep that in mind as Paul and Ryan and Matt present this, and hopefully you guys will see what they've come up with. So I'll turn it over to them.
Kelsey, before we continue, can you give me the last names of Paul, Ryan, and Matt, please?
I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. My name is Paul Benvey. I am the project manager for this project. It's Bayside Park. I've been working on this project now for 8 months, and it was actually started well in advance of me coming back to DRMP. Also on my design team is Matt Horton from Insight. That's Horton. And Ryan Richards from RG Architects. And they'll have a chance to talk a little bit later in this presentation. So as you can see on the screen here, this is Bayside Park. This is what it looks like from the right-of-way adjacent to Nervous Nellies would be on the right-hand side of the screen. And then if you see the aerial view on the right side there, you can kind of get an idea of where Nervous Nellies falls, where Snug Harbor falls, and so on. So I'm going to start off with a very brief history, starting back to the 1920s with the original wooden bridge, moving into the...
Can you stop for a moment? I'm hearing Roger eating, so it's really breaking up what you're saying. So if Roger could mute, I'd appreciate it.
Are we good?
I think so now. I was hearing
Okay.
a lot of background noise.
Okay. So this is the swing bridge that was put in the 30s following a hurricane that destroyed the wooden bridge. And I'm just showing you this here to kind of give an indication of what we're talking about. So on the right-hand side of the screen, I don't know if you can see my mouse. Uh, where that approach lands is what is now Bayside Park. Again, it's another aerial shot before the Matanzas overpass bridge was built. Again, the area we're talking about is down here in this region. And I did a picture from 1978 when the bridge was first being built. You can see the original swing bridge is still operational. And again, we're talking about this portion back here. I did a time-lapse photo here of the development of this bridge. So again, the area in red is basically the boundary of the park. And I really want to show this to you all so you can kind of understand what we're dealing with. It's not a parcel, it's actually right of way that's owned by the town. Again, this is where the traffic used to come in and out of, and instead of maintaining it as an open roadway with a dead end, it was repurposed as a park. So again, as you come over the bridge, you can kind of see where Nervous Nellie's is, where Snug Harbor is, and where Old San Carlos runs to the south to Times Square. Here's another shot of the park. This shot was taken in about 2019, right around the time we were contracted in to try and develop something maybe a little more modern, a little more inviting. Right now, it's a pretty much concrete paved island from one side to the other, and it can get pretty hot out there. So we're seeing a lot of very little usage, and we're trying to make it just something more inviting, something more comfortable to be in.
Paul, one second. Bob, can you please mute your phone? Bob, are you?
I'm trying.
We're just getting a lot of background noise, and it's kind of difficult to hear Paul.
Let me call back in on another line. You can go ahead. I'll call back in.
Okay.
So we, with our initial trial here, we're also tying this thing into Times Square. So there's some elements from Times Square we're trying to bring in here, and we actually worked with Matt Horton at Insight to develop a plan that kind of encompassed lots of different details. So it had a splash pad, it had a grassy sit and watch performances at the stage that would be, right now it's a pavilion, lack of a better word. It'd be more of a purpose-built stage. We had a rain garden and lots of fun things. And we thought we had a pretty good design. It had been through many different rounds of public involvement, stakeholder meetings, and eventually it was all but approved with the town council. But then there was it went away. We couldn't go. We needed to provide some kind of upland facilities for the mooring field. So we very quickly, within I think it was 2 weeks' time, another plan that was ultimately approved by council, and that's what you see here. So what it is, it's a 2-story building. It's actually an elevated first floor deck to get out of the floodplain, and then also a rooftop gathering area. Again, the park gets kind of warm, so we wanted to put in lots of shade trees. We still kept some of the elements, such as the rain garden and the seat wall, and tried to tie back as much as we could to Times Square and the furnishings that are going in there. We were finally given a direction to move forward with the design, and uncovering the very first week, we found that in that right-of-way, that again, that's what it was originally for, this is where the town receives its entire water supply and also sends its sewer through a force main. It's running, as you can see, right down the middle of the park, just to the west of the center line of the park. So that yellow box now became our buildable area to create a upland facility for the mooring field. that does not really coincide with the building that we originally had. So, you know, on our side, we kind of felt like this is going to be a weird looking building. It could be strange. So we were kind of fretting on what we might come up with here. And so therefore, this design also went in the trash. So that brings us to our current design here. This is the 30% plans, as Chelsea mentioned. So it's a work in progress, and we hope you'll bear with us a little bit on it. But before I go a little bit further here, I did want to let you know that we reviewed the meeting minutes from the AAC steering committee. And we tried to address as many things as we possibly could from that. There was a lot of great ideas in there. A lot of them were outside the scope of this project, but really, by and large, the main things that we noted was the need for additional restrooms was paramount. Updating the facilities to be more user friendly and to make it one of the best mooring destinations in Florida. Also heard that there was a need for appropriate outdoor congregation space. So without further ado, this is what we've come up with for that area. On the right side, you've got the building, which we'll go into a little more detail in a minute. And on the left side, we've still preserved the park setting, an inviting area for people to come and congregate. It's got shade. It's got landscaping. It's still got the rain garden features, and it does have a stage. So the trees, though, we had to remove due to the buried utilities that are in that area, and also for maintenance issues and crashing into the building. As we rotate down a little bit further, again, we are on the south side of the building looking north. To the far right of your screen, again, is Nervous Nellies, and to the far left is Snug Harbor. This is the same view, just from eye level. And the next shot here, we're going to walk across this crosswalk and into the park. So if you look at the screen here, you've got design elements that are pulled back from Times Square in the shade sails and the stage area. We have on the far right of your screen, you'll see the lower area is a rain garden. And just behind that is the southern stairway that will go up to the second floor and also the roof deck. We've got a elevator shaft adjacent to that, and then a equipment room on the bottom floor. The rest of that area really has to remain open. Again, it's unoccupiable space because it's in the flood zone. So all that area can just be congregation area, open area for gathering, watching performances and the like. Further into the park here, you can see that's looking out over the dinghy dock. There's a stage in the background there. We have an artificial turf down here. It's going to remain cool with the shade, but also low maintenance. So you won't have to have a lawn maintenance crew come out and try and maintain grass in this small shaded area. Again, there's a seat wall that's placed here. It's a vibrant color that matches the logo, the new logo scheme color palette. But it will tie back into the elements that are in Times Square. So I'm just looking around now to the north side of the building, looking south. So this is from the conceptual plans for the dinghy dock. Again, this is about eye level. So if you just parked your dinghy, you'd be on the boardwalk here, walking up to the building. That would be what it might look like. You have a little higher here coming around the side of this building, and now we're hovering over the Snug Harbor property. Come back down to eye level so you can kind of see what it might look like walking from that direction. And this is zooming in a little bit more here, looking at the park area and what the building might look like. So if we come up the stairs, we're now on the second floor. As you can see, you've got pretty good views overlooking the park. You've got views looking at the pass. And if you look to your far right, you've got the stairwell. That's where the stairwell comes up. So you'd be just at the top landing of the stairs. There's the elevator shaft beyond that. the first door you see is a small custodial closet. And then as you go down, you'll see rows of doors and laundry equipment. So what we did, again, we heard that the restroom facilities were inadequate currently. And so we added, I believe it's 6 total restroom shower combinations for the mooring folks. And then also there's 5 or 6 laundry. At the very end of that area there, you've got the door that would go into the dockmaster's quarters. And on the opposite side of that wall, you would have a payment station or check-in station for the mooring people, as well as parking may also be cohabitating that office. So if you look down that corridor beyond the man with the wife beater and board shorts, around behind him, you've got another stairwell on the north end of the building. And so we're going to go down around there and pop up on the roof deck. And now we're going to be looking to the south. So this would be if you're just on that top landing from the stairway, looking to the south, and the horizon there, you can see the Gulf of Mexico. You would be able to see possibly the pier from here and some of the other areas on the beach. And if we move down this gathering space, we'll move down to the gathering space. I want to point some things out. Number one, it's shaded. It's an open gathering space. There's a small serving station here that could be brought in for serving drinks or catering. It would just be a nice area to put things for gathering events. And then as you move further to the south of this building, you get an idea of what it might look like, at sunset. So this is an area where again, we could put a selfie spot. People can take pictures here. And again, you can, in the background there, you can see Times Square. You can see the pier, and you can see up and down the beach. That's the quick rundown. I'm a civil engineer. I probably should have mentioned that. All these pretty pictures were done by Ryan over at RG Architects. He's the one with the artistic flair. I think he did an excellent job. I'm going to hand off to him now to let him talk a little bit more about the programming. And Ryan, if you need me to back up on any slides, let me know. I'll do that for you. I'll start you out here on the ground floor with this schematic.
Thanks, Paul. I appreciate that. So here we have essentially 3 floor plans going left to right. Well, if you could back up one for just a moment. You got first floor, second floor, third floor. So we're going to zoom in on the first floor. It looks like. Is it moving?
Yep.
So you're kind of bouncing around a little bit. On the first floor, is, like you said, relatively wide open. These column grids were derived off of the column grids currently at Nervous Delis. So our openings line up with theirs. It kind of creates this consistent colonnade going through the project. And it works into the palm trees, which Matt will bring up in a little bit. First floor has really been minimized footprint-wise. There may be some small storage elements or electrical panels associated with stage lighting or things. We have a small closet for that, the elevator itself, and really just the 2 stairwells. So moving up into the second floor, if you could hit the next slide for me. Where our primary program is, as you said, we have 6 restrooms, all integral toilet, sink, shower units. One of them ADA accessible, a little bit larger. There'll be, potentially changing table, things like that in there, and then a custodial closet to serve those. Between each of them, you have the wash-dry units, and then a work table out in front to help people load and unload in those areas. And then on the right-hand side, office with a little bit of secure storage where they could, put a safe. And on the right side of the office, facing the pass, a service window for people coming up to use the marina access to it. So we've got some built-in casework, kind of workstations in the office with the door going out the back. Pretty simple programs, long, linear. We used that angle to kind of create some interest in some gathering spaces and kind of open it up a little bit. Now, when we move up to the third floor, you could stick the next slide, Paul. Again, a large open spaces with stairs at either end. The custodial room up here is a little bit larger. It's also going to house the rooftop access to get up to a little bit of a penthouse to hide the air conditioning units on top of the elevator. And on top of this elevator equipment room, there'll probably be a single rooftop unit to supply air conditioning down to the bathrooms and the offices, and also some storage components, because anything that goes up here for an event is going to have to come through the elevator, that unless it goes up the stairs. So if there's things like moving refrigerators, moving ice buckets or carts, they can be stored in this area and not have to come up and down for each and every event. So the program is really simple. It's kind of a ribbon type shape, but we've tried to open it up, create some sight lines as best we can, and really not obstruct the views from the neighboring areas. So the third floor footprint of what was referenced earlier is really just the roof access, custodial, and elevator, and vertical access. Everything else stays essentially open as a roof deck. So if you could click one more slide for me, Paul. When we look at it from First Street, kind of Nervous Nelly's immediately on your right, you can kind of see we're trying to respect their height. They have got a very tall 15-foot kind of header beam going around their wraparound porch. We're trying to line up with that and kind of keep that open eye view underneath the building as best we can for the first floor diners, and then lining up the colonnades to keep that as kind of uninterrupted as possible. That said, we do have security concerns. Obviously, no one is going upstairs after 9 p.m. or 5 p.m., depending on the program. So some of the vertical elements need to be enclosed to provide that proper level of security, so that it can be shut down at night and we don't have unwelcome visitors. So with that, I think our next slide is going to lead us into Matt Horton with Insight and the landscape design as it currently stands.
Right. Thanks. Almost 20 years ago now, I had the opportunity to take this space from what was a parking lot, and that it was in that state after the new bridge came in sometime in the 80s. Take it from a parking lot to a public park, this that you see behind me here. And so, the challenge became, how do we keep this type of space for the public and accommodate the Upland Facilities Building? And I really believe strongly that we've been able to do that. We've been able to accomplish that simply because the height of the first floor of the building creates that open space underneath. I was able to take all of that, and what you see here on the left is more of a technical drawing, and on the right a little bit more rendered. But if we focus on the building on the right, or the drawing on the right, you'll see that kind of gray shaded piece is the footprint. You'll also see that below that, we were able to extend the green space, the paver space, and so all of that pedestrian circulation that we have today, we're still able to have in this scheme. The other piece that we were able to continue from the old Stan's Carlos streetscape is the colonnade of coconut palms that they marched through the site. We were unable to have more shade trees in this simply because of the utilities underground. But when we take this many palm trees and put them together in a colonnade, it creates a relatively good amount of shade on the park. And then we've supplemented that with shade sails, which you saw in the renderings, and also on that more technical drawing on the left, those triangle pieces are the shade sails. I was able to find space for one shade tree, and I see this as being a specimen tree, something very striking that you see at the end of your view as you're approaching the park on Old San Carlos. And that'll be something large the day we put it in. We were able to maintain what we consider CPTED principles, and that's crime prevention through environmental design, where we keep a window of clear sight through the entire park by having low shrubs and site furnishings, very clear view, and then the canopies of the trees sitting above that space. So I'm very pleased at where we are here at 30%. And really going to the next slide, just wanted to touch on the fact that we've been working in concert with the plans for Times Square, or site furnishings and finishes and such that we can carry through all of the future public improvements.
Thanks, Matt. So again, just to reiterate what Matt was saying, you can see the height of this building here, the elevated deck. It's shown, I believe, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but at 12 feet in the air. Is that correct, to the bottom? You're on mute, Ryan.
It's about 12 and a half feet. We're 15 floor to floor.
Okay. So what that does, again, is it provides those sight lines. It's open as we possibly can make it, as Matt said, for having a building. We tried to stick with some slender steel columns, again, to make it as open as possible for aesthetics, and also, as Matt said, for crime prevention. So with that, we'll wrap up here. Wanted to say thank you to everyone. Look forward to hearing your feedback, and looking forward to completing this project all the way through to construction. Well, I guess at this point, we'll open it up to Chelsea to decide how we handle comments and feedback.
Kathy, do you just want to go one by one to each member and any questions or comments that they may have, and you call on them, and then we'll go that way?
Sounds like a plan. Greg, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have any comments or questions?
No, I just think it's a fantastic start. I like the openness of it. I just like to see some of the numbers of exactly how many showers, toilets, laundry, washer and dryers, and so forth.
So according to this plan right here, we've got 6 restrooms, and each restroom would have a shower, a toilet, and a sink. And then in between each one of the 6 restrooms, you'd have one laundry double stack, washer and dryer, so you have a total of 5.
Okay, that sounds good. Also, one last question would be, do you have space for a convenience store for ice and so forth?
So we don't have a store per se, but I did read that note on the February meeting from the AC, and is opportunity to put a ice machine out here. It may be something that can be opened up with an app for mooring customers. So if they're staying in the field, they'd be able to come in and get ice. There's room for that in this design. It wouldn't take up a lot of real estate, but it can definitely be added. That's more of an operational question for when this building opens, I would say.
No further questions.
Okay, Bob, are you here?
Yeah, I'm impressed with the design. It's attractive looking. It seems to serve the purpose, and what I really like is you were able to still keep a park and landscape area and still have the open views through there in the corridor. So I think you did a very good job.
Thank you, Matt and Ryan.
Okay, Ted?
Before you jump to the next person, I think Mike, your microphone, I think you need to mute. That's why we're getting some background noise.
Okay, can you hear me, Chelsea, though? Because you didn't hear me before.
We can hear you.
All right.
Okay, Ted, do you have some questions or comments?
I'm impressed. Obviously, a lot of work has gone into it and addresses many of the problems that we were discussing. So initially, I'm extremely impressed.
Anything further, or you're okay? Okay, Sam.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. I really like the aesthetics. The building itself is awesome. The only concerns I have are regarding the function, and that may just be an afterthought. As far as, looks like the laundry's open to everybody, including the public. I'm not sure. Did you want to address that, or is that up to us later?
Yeah, so that would definitely happen down the line as part of operations, but I can that there are app oriented pay stations. So similar to the parking that's down there in Old San Carlos, just log into your app and then you can park your car. There are a couple of specific to laundromat apps that can be done in lieu of using change, and you'd be able to lock actually only permit people who are staying in the mooring field to use those facilities.
Good. And similarly, regarding the restrooms, I understand it's going to be a hybrid public and for Anchorage during the day. You mentioned you're going to lock the stairwells and turn off the elevator at night. Would we have an option to provide extended hours for mooring field patrons?
Paul, you want me to touch on that?
Based on our design, it would be possible, but again, yeah, like you said, that would be an operational issue.
Yeah, and Sam, to just touch on that, security is definitely a priority for us, and we're looking at ways to lock down the entire facility after a certain hour, and then restrict it after a certain hour type thing. So if the office closes at 5, perhaps, there's still access to mooring field patrons only until the entire facility shuts down at a later time. So we're working through. Ryan's got some ideas that we're trying to work through, and hopefully the next set of design that we come up, we'll have some ideas.
Sounds great. The building itself looks awesome, and I'm sure we'll be able to get the operations stuff under. That's it for me.
Mike.
Yes, Kathy, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm extremely pleased with the design. I think they've done a terrific job. And most of my questions have been answered. What I really like about, in addition to what has been said earlier, is that I think it's going to dovetail quite nicely with Old San Carlos and the Times Square project as well. So it seems to me to work quite well with all of that in the future. So I'm very, very pleased, and thank you for doing a great job. And that's it.
Chelsea, am I correct that Bill is not in this meeting?
Correct.
Okay, I guess I'm the last one here. I, as well, like very much the design, and maybe it's a happy circumstance that the original building, which would block all of the view to the bay, was not able to be. And so it's a sideways view, which really leaves the site corridor open, which I think was a concern of a lot of people. If you're on ground level, that you can still see the bay side. So in some ways, I think I like this design better than the other building. It's kind of a modern design too, because it's got some not straight corners. It's got a little bit of stuff going on. I also, part of what we talked about is leaving the showers and things open. I mean, that's a management thing. So if we go with this, that's something to talk about down the road. It has nothing to do with the design. But I'm really glad that there's space for 6 showers, because I think that was my concern, that there would not be enough space to add additional units, which we really need, and particularly if sometime down the road the mooring field expands. So I think it looks really good at the beginning as well. So what's the next project? Where do we?
So like I started with the meeting, just, noting that this project is in tandem with the Times Square with the Bay Oaks project. So all three projects really need endorsed and the support from the community, from the committee, and especially town council, because they have to approve the funding of this. So Paul, Matt, and Ryan are going to continue to, plow full speed ahead on the design of this. And hopefully by, like I said, mid-June to mid to late June, we'll have 100% biddable documents ready to go out on the street for bidding. But again, all of that stems from having the funding to construct this, and again, the support from this committee and town council. So I'll turn it over to Roger in case he wants to add anything else to it.
Yeah, before that, just dovetailing on what you said. Obviously, if we're going to go ahead and it sounds like the AAC members are really pleased with this, and I just want to make sure that everybody is in line with going ahead, and obviously it would mean that we would be taking it in-house, and I want to make sure that everybody is on the committee is wanting to do that. It sounds like we are, but does anybody on the committee want to say no to that or whatever? It sounds like we're kind of in agreement that we want to go ahead.
I'm in agreement.
That was Greg. Anybody else could comment?
I agree. This is Bob.
This is Sam. I'm very favorable.
Ted?
You got an eye from Mike. Thanks very much.
Ted?
As you know, in the past, I've been somewhat hesitant to have something under the town management. This looks much more manageable than any of the previous options, and therefore I'm less worried about that. Possibly if there were a vendor or something, I'm not sure yet, but I'll go with it either way.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we're all kind of on board with this because, and so I'm glad we had are able to speak to that. So Chelsea, go ahead.
Roger, did you want to say anything?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to say that we promised the council that we would bring the 30% plans back to the AAC, and we will bring them also to town council. Your liaisons participate in the meeting, so we'll set that up with her and through her to get this to town council to be sure that everyone's comfortable with how we're proceeding. And we think that we have a viable project that will tremendously complement the area as well as the community. It's a nice way to accommodate not only the mooring field users, but the community at large. And basically takes a piece of land that's been really unused except for a couple of special events by the adjacent property owner and put it to what I believe is a good public use. So we're very excited about that. I want to reassure you we'll be back again before you with the 60% plans and the 90% plans to keep you fully abreast of how we're proceeding, dealing with some of the issues that were mentioned today, like the mini ship store type issues, so that the facility functions in a way that supports the mooring field operation. So I don't know if the liaison has had a chance to say anything, but I think the council may want to say a few words.
I'm going to hold off at this point. I'm still taking it all in and chewing it up because this is a completely different plan than what I had previously seen. My initial impression is positive, but I want to sleep on it. I'm that kind of person.
Fair enough. I just want to add that there are other elements that were discussed that we didn't show on this plan yet, but are still viable and we plan to include. I think Chelsea may have mentioned the selfie spot type of landmark somewhere on the property, and as well as the tribute. We still have plans to incorporate that probably on the columns of the building, feeding the bay walk. So you'll see those concepts develop along with the mini ship store and the 60% plans.
Chelsea, I have a question because and maybe this isn't the time to ask it, but about the dinghy dock, is that still going forward?
We had submitted a grant application for the engineering. We're assessing that right now because it would be wise to have these in tandem. So we're making steps to make that happen. Of course, having to communicate with our marine engineering team, and then of course having the funding available. We got to make sure that that's there, but we are working to do these in tandem.
Yeah, let's be very clear about that. It's our goal to see if the community will support both projects and do both projects.
Is there a way for the committee to get just a rough 30% plan that we could have electronically?
This presentation is the 30% plan, which I would be more than happy to disperse after the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is Bob. I was going to ask the same thing.
My suggestion would be to make sure the PIO has it, and maybe she could put it out to the sandpaper, etc.
I know for a fact she's listening in.
Hi, Jennifer.
Okay, is there anything further? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Bob Beasley.
Actually, Kathy, I'd like to make one comment. This is Mike.
Mike.
Yeah, this is just a general comment. As we've all stated before, I'm very happy about the design. It's really, I think, satisfies many of the concerns that some of us had. Lastly, I would just like to say, I think this is a great opportunity. So many communities throughout Florida have given up their access to their waterfront to private development. And this piece of right-of-way, I think, allows us, at least here in Fort Myers Beach, to have that our community have still access to that. Now, I fully realize that we had that access all along with the existing park, but I think through this design, we actually are able to achieve multiple goals and still have some control over our waterfront, which I think is quite important. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anything further?
I will end with, we'll be in communication via email moving forward, and once things start to reopen, hopefully we can get you all back here in Town Hall. But I appreciate everybody's time and patience with this Zoom meeting. It's a new normal for everybody, but I think we did it pretty well here today. So thank you all for partaking in your input, and I will get you an email by the close of business today with what you saw here. So thank you.
Thank you. I wasn't exactly sure how we were going to work with the presentation, and I'm very impressed with it, actually. Thanks to all three of the gentlemen today. Motion to adjourn.
Peg Holmes, motion to adjourn.
All right. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Goodbye.